Sagittarius, let us talk about the second half of November 2025 and the new chapter that is quietly opening under your feet. If you have Sagittarius as your sun sign, your moon, your rising, or your Venus, this message is for you. You are the traveler of the zodiac in more ways than one. You travel with your body when you can, with your mind when you cannot, and with your spirit when nothing else is moving. The first half of this month may have felt like restless weather inside you. Part of you wanting to leap forward into the next adventure, and part of you feeling oddly stuck or unsure where the next true horizon really is. Plans may have changed. Hopes may have felt delayed. Something in you has been asking, where am I actually headed? And what do I still believe in? Now, as we step into mid-month, the energy begins to shift from vague longing into clearer direction. The universe is not necessarily handing you a perfect map with all the stops marked, but it is handing you a compass and asking you to pay attention to where it is quietly pointing. The second half of November brings opportunities to realign with your own truth, not the truth people expect you to defend, not the old beliefs you inherited or repeated. The truth that actually lives in your bones right now at this stage of your life. You may notice that certain things simply do not resonate the way they once did. Ideas that once felt exciting may now seem flat. Circles you used to feel at home in may feel small or limiting. Habitual ways of talking about yourself may feel slightly false, as if you are repeating an old script that no longer fits. This is not a sign that you have lost your way. It is a sign that you are outgrowing an earlier version of your path. In love and relationships, this shift shows up in very real ways. Sagittarius energy needs honesty and room to breathe in order to feel truly close to someone. You can put up with a lot as long as you feel that the connection is real. The first half of November may have brought up questions about what freedom and commitment mean to you. Now, maybe you have felt torn between wanting deep partnership and wanting to keep your options open. Maybe you have felt frustrated by people who talk about big visions but live in small patterns. If you are in a relationship, the second half of the month invites you into fuller honesty about what you want to build together. You might feel the urge to expand something in your shared life. That expansion could be literal, such as travel relocation or a bigger shared project. It could also be emotional, such as going deeper in communication or being more transparent about your long-term dreams. You may want to ask, are we growing in the same direction, or are we simply orbiting each other out of habit? Conversations may arise around values, around what adventure means to each of you, around what kind of life you both want to look back on in 10 or 20 years. These talks do not have to be heavy. In fact, for you, they are often more fruitful when they include some humor and perspective, yet they are important. Sagittarius energy is not meant to live a small life in a relationship that only exists to avoid being alone. You are meant to share your journey with someone who understands that your spirit needs room and stimulation and a sense of meaning. That said, this is also a time to notice if you have used the idea of freedom as a way to avoid intimacy. There may be places where you pull back as soon as things get too real, moments when you make jokes instead of admitting how much you care, times when you run toward the next novelty to avoid the vulnerable work of staying present when conflict or fear arises. Mid-November gives you a chance to see those patterns with compassion and to experiment with staying a little longer instead of bolting at the first sign of discomfort. If you are single, the second half of November encourages you to get honest about what you are actually looking for. Not the story you tell friends when you roll your eyes at dating, the deeper truth underneath. It might be that you do want a serious connection, but are afraid it will trap you. It might be that you enjoy casual connections, yet secretly long for someone who truly understands your inner world. You may be ready now to refine your own story about love. You might feel less drawn to scattered flirtation and more interested in people who stimulate your mind and share your sense of possibility. You may notice more quickly when someone is only pretending to be deep, when their actions do not match their words. Your energy is too precious to be wasted on endless, almost relationships where the other person never really shows up. This period supports you in choosing connections that nourish your curiosity and your sense of purpose instead of only your need for distraction. Now, turn your attention to your work, your path, and your sense of direction in the world. Sagittarius is linked with exploration, higher learning, wisdom, teaching, publishing, travel, and anything that broadens horizons. The earlier part of this month may have highlighted where your current path feels either exciting or stifling. You might have had moments where you suddenly wondered, how did I end up here? And is this really what I still want? The second half of November encourages big picture reflection. This does not mean you must know every detail of your future. It means you are being asked to reconnect with the why behind what you are doing. Why this job? Why this business? Why this study program? Why this city? Sagittarius energy with no sense of meaning starts to wither. The universe is gently pointing you toward situations that allow you to grow, to learn, to teach, or to contribute something you truly believe in. You may feel nudged toward new studies or skill building. This could be formal education or informal learning, a course that expands your professional options, a workshop on something spiritual or creative that lights you up, a book that opens your mind to a new path. Follow those nudges. Even if they do not immediately translate into a career change, they feed your soul and may plant seeds for the future. At work, you might find yourself less willing to tolerate environments that are rigid, cynical, or dishonest. You need some sense of integrity in what you are part of. If you have been biting your tongue around questionable practices, you may feel more compelled to speak up or to quietly plan your exit. If you love your field but dislike your current container, you might begin imagining other ways to do similar work in a context that feels more aligned. Financially, the second half of November asks for a blend of vision and responsibility. Sagittarius can at times treat money as something that will somehow sort itself out in time. There can be a tendency to spend to create experiences, travel, or learning while trusting that the universe will provide. While there is magic in your optimism, this period invites you to anchor it with some practical steps that might mean actually looking at the numbers instead of avoiding them. It might mean creating a simple plan to handle debts or commitments. It might mean saving consistently even while still allowing some budget for the experiences that keep you inspired. Think of it as funding your future adventures, not limiting them. When your finances have even a basic structure, you feel freer rather than less free. That is the paradox for this time. A chosen structure supports true freedom more than total chaos does. Beneath all of these outer movements, there is a deeper internal process underway. Sagittarius is connected with beliefs, philosophy, spirituality, and the search for meaning. You may find that some of your old belief systems are being questioned now. That could relate to religion, family values, political ideas, or your own stories about what you are capable of. Mid-November is not necessarily about rejecting everything you once believed. It is about noticing where life has outgrown simplified answers. You may catch yourself saying things you were taught and feeling a small disconnect inside. You may encounter people or ideas that challenge your assumptions. You may become aware of how certain beliefs have kept you safe, but also kept you limited. For example, you might have accepted the idea that you are bad with money and should therefore avoid thinking about it, or that you are not the kind of person who can commit to long-term goals, or that big dreams are only for other people. This is a season for gently interrogating those beliefs. Are they actually true, or are they conclusions you drew from a few painful experiences? Sagittarius has the courage to look for a wider perspective, to ask, what if I was wrong about myself in a good way? What if I am more capable of focus than I assumed? What if I can create a life that includes both adventure and stability? Your intuition is also strong now, especially around questions of timing and direction. For you, intuition often feels like a sudden sense of yes or a clear feeling of no when you consider a path. It might show up as a surge of enthusiasm when you think about one option and a flatness when you think about another. The second half of November invites you to trust that response, even if you cannot explain it logically at first. You may find that opportunities arise that match your deeper desires, but require risk. A trip, a move, a new collaboration, sharing your work publicly, saying yes to something that stretches you. When these moments appear, it is natural to feel a mix of excitement and fear. The key is to check whether the fear is simply the edge of growth or a deeper warning. If the fear is paired with a strange sense of rightness under it, that is often growth. If it feels like a heavy dread or a repeating pattern of self-betrayal, then your system may be asking you to pause. Spiritually, the second half of November supports reconnection with practices that make you feel like life is more than random events. Sagittarius thrives when you have a sense of story around your experiences. You may feel drawn to meditation, prayer, journaling, divination, or simply more time in nature where you can feel the larger context of your life. You might find that the universe speaks to you now through meaningful coincidences, repeated symbols, chance encounters that carry messages, songs, or phrases that show up exactly when you need them. Pay attention to these little signs without obsessing. Think of them as winks from the larger pattern that remind you you are not wandering without guidance. Your job is not to decode every symbol perfectly, but to stay open to the idea that you are in conversation with something bigger than your conscious mind. This is also a powerful time to revisit dreams and visions that you set aside. There may be a project, a journey, a creative expression, or a life change that you once longed for but talked yourself out of. Perhaps you felt it was not practical or that too much time had passed. Mid-November can bring that dream back into your field of awareness, not to torture you, but to ask whether you are ready to relate to it differently now, with more maturity and more strategy. You do not have to act overnight. You can start by simply admitting to yourself, yes, I still want that. You can then ask, what would a grounded path toward that look like over the next year? Rather than expecting it to happen all at once, Sagittarius has a gift for long-range vision. When you allow yourself to see beyond short-term obstacles, you can take steady steps toward what once seemed unreachable. As the second half of November unfolds, you may notice subtle but clear changes in how you move through your days. You might speak with a little more honesty and a little less people-pleasing. You might waste less time in situations that feel dead and give more time to ones that feel alive. You may start giving yourself permission to be a beginner at something new, instead of insisting you must already be good at everything. In relationships, you may feel more alignment as you choose connections that match your values and your sense of possibility. You may be more willing to have real conversations about where things are going, rather than drifting along, hoping it will magically work out. In work and vocation, you might find renewed enthusiasm as you bring your attention back to projects that truly inspire you and allow some others to fade. In your inner world, you may feel a growing sense of trust that even when you do not know every detail of the path, you are not lost. Remember that this Sagittarius mid-month reading is only one part of your full astrological picture. To understand how November is really moving through your life, listen also to the horoscopes for your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus signs. Your rising sign often describes the kinds of outer experiences and themes that appear on your path. Your moon sign reveals how all of this feels inside you and what you need emotionally to feel safe. Your sun sign speaks to your core identity and what keeps you feeling alive and purposeful. Your Venus sign shows how love, money, and attraction are flowing for you right now. You can also listen to the signs of the people you care about, your partner or potential partner, your close friends, your children, your family, the people you work with closely. Understanding the energies they are walking through can shift the way you see their behavior. Instead of assuming they do things to you, you can recognize that they are also walking their own path of lessons, growth, and fear. that understanding can bring more patience where it is healthy and clearer boundaries where you need them. When you are ready to go beyond a general horoscope and into something more personal and interactive, visit mysticbolt.com. There, you will find tarot card spreads designed to help you make choices in love, in career, in finances, and in life direction. You will find astrology tools that let you explore your own chart in detail and see patterns that have been shaping your story. You will see a growing library of spiritual and divination apps created to support you in exactly these moments when you are reorienting your life. For now, Sagittarius, take a deep breath and let this truth settle in. You are not late. You are not off your path. You are in a season of recalibration where your inner compass is being tuned to a truer north. The second half of November is here to remind you that your life is allowed to be bigger, brighter, and more meaningful than the boxes you have been squeezing yourself into. You are allowed to update your beliefs. You are allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to choose a horizon that truly excites your soul and then walk toward it one honest step at a time.